This week on Art on the Air, a whole show features the cast of the Dunes Art Foundation production of Misery, featuring Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist Janet Davies of Chicago ABC News fame, and longtime Region actor, director, and theater educator Lee Giese, appearing May 30th through June 15th. Our spotlights on Cedar Lakes Museum at Lassen's Resort with Executive Director Julie Giese.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, WVLP 103.1 FM, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant, South Shore Arts, and the National Endowment for the Arts. Art on the Air is heard every Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicmedia.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Media's website as a podcast. Also heard on Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at wvlp.org. Our Spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Media. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, Spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. We'd like to welcome to Art on the Air Spotlight. She's back again from the great Cedar Lake History Museum, the Lassen Resort. In fact, you can listen to information about lassenresort.org. Julie Giese, and she's going to tell us about some of the things coming up in late spring and summer, some new things that are coming up down there, some fun things they're doing. Julie, welcome back to Art on the Air Spotlight.
Thank you, Larry Nestor. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always so nice to see you.
Thank you.
Well, you have some things happening. That you've had a very successful thing with your Dewey steamboat. And we interviewed Chef Eric previously about some of the things he did in the past. So tell us about what's going on down there.
Well, we're pleased to say that everything that we do is seemingly award-winning. So both the Steamboat won 3 awards, and our program, Culinary Anthropology with Chef Eric, also won an award this past year. So we're really excited about that, to have our colleagues and our peers recognize the programs that we're putting on as basically excellence within our historic field. We really feel honored by that. So we're excited to be resuming our 2025 season. We actually kicked off back on May 2nd when we did a ribbon cutting for a brand new exhibit room, and we're telling the story of the summer at Cedar Lake. And what doesn't fit better with summer than to be on a steamboat on the lake? So on June 11th, we will kick off our 5th season of steamboat rides on magnificent Cedar Lake. So we're really excited about that coming up.
Now, there's a change in the steamboat. Will you tell us a little bit about that? So you have a big Dewey and then a little Dewey, but tell us about the differences.
So actually what we have 3 vessels right now. We have Steamer Dewey. That's our steamboat ride. That's every Wednesday starting June 11th through the end of September. And then we acquired, I guess you would say, Big Dewey. So she is a 1987 U.S. Navy whaleboat that we have converted as a member of our Dewey Line crew. And so she will be giving more so chartered rides around the lake. That is just a diesel-powered boat, but that does still fit in with the Lassen's resort history. The Lassens had 7 vessels that we know of in the beginning that were steamboats, but they eventually converted over to diesel and all that. And then Baby Dewey, that was our 6-passenger electric boat. That's where Chef Eric was preparing the sunset dinner cruises. Oh. And so our passengers were able to board the boat. Chef Eric brought their meal out to them. They went around the lake and were able to have a cruise around the lake and then have dessert back on the porch. So those programs, those kind of are the 3 programs that we offer with our Dewey Line fleet of boats.
It sounds like a great way to spend a day. Now, coming out there, what what would someone expect to see in your museum? What are some of the exhibits you have? You touched on it briefly, but kind of give us what that experience is like.
The museum at Lesson's Resort is designed to share with you the 1920s height of the resort era history in Cedar Lake. 1880s through the 1930s was really our resort era, 50 resorts that graced the shoreline. We're the only building left. Everything else has, been dismantled or out of business, turned into private homes. Our structure is all that's left from that culture, that era. So it's largely intact. And when you walk through the doors, you're going to feel like you step back into the 1920s. And so when we were figuring out ways to expand the experience, we kept looking back to what the Lassens did when they founded this resort. And we know that boat rides and we know that these amazing dining experiences were part of that. So we even brought back the speakeasy vibe. So every August, I believe it's the third Friday of August this year, August 15th, we do a speakeasy summer social. So I would say 90% of our guests are dressed up in their flapper girl and dapper, I don't know what you would call him, dapper guy costumes. And Chef Eric even turns the menu into something inspired by 1920s culinary history. And it is so much fun to, again, step back into time, have an experience that you can't have anywhere else, certainly not in Little Lake County, Indiana. We love it.
Has Chef Eric developed the menu for this year? Last year it was so enticing.
Not yet, and we will absolutely be keeping that under wraps. It's a surprise for the guests who walk through the door. We do everything but have you do a secret knock when you come in. So we have Jack Shellac, the gramophone DJ, who spins all the hits, if you will, from the 1920s and even gives dance lessons. Wow. It's a really, really fun night.
So you've been involved as executive director for how long?
Since 2015, I would say. I've been a volunteer since 2008, but since 2015, functioning as executive director.
Sure. And to give us an idea of what your day is like. It may not be typical.
I know. I was going to say I might be repairing the trim. Obviously, I'm the cruise director on the steamboat. I might be giving you your museum tour. I'm certainly balancing the checkbook and doing pretty much, as they say, all the things to make sure that our experience is the most enriching experience for our guests.
And are you just summer only, or is there things going on at the museum like off season?
The museum itself is only open from the first Friday in May through the end of October, last Sunday of October. We do a couple of off-season programs, but we will tend to go other places within the community to get together because there's no heat in that building. She's original. She's 104 years old from the 1920s, and it gets cold in the winter.
That sounds like a great thing. We have about 1 minute left, so share with us how people can find out more information and contact information, the websites, and all the other things, and anything else you want to add.
Absolutely. So I would have you go to lassensresort.org, LASSENS resort.org. And when you get there, you're going to find how you can purchase your tickets to the steamboat, museum tours, the Speakeasy Summer Social. We have an art show every July, all the things, as I like to say. So lassensresort.org, and visit us over there. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as well. We just hope to welcome everyone at Cedar Lake. We always talk about how summer starts sooner and lasts longer at Lassen's Resort. So we look forward to welcoming you this summer. That's
great. That's Julie Saad, Executive Director for the museum at Lassen's Resort, and you can contact it at lassensresort.org. Julie, thank you for coming back on Art on the Air Spotlight.
Thanks so much, Larry Nestor.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Art on the Air Spotlight and the complete 1-hour program on Lakeshore Public Media is brought to you by Macaulay Real Estate in Valparaiso, Olga Patrician, Senior Broker.
This is actor, comedian Frank Ferrante, and you're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media 89.1 FM and on WVLP 103.1 FM. And don't forget to tell them Groucho sent you.
We are pleased to welcome Janet Davies to Art on the Air. Janet is an award-winning broadcast journalist. She has an extensive background in directing all phases of both the creative and the technical elements of communication initiatives. She joined ABC 7 Chicago as a reporter in 1984. Janet was the host and an executive producer of 190 North, a multi-Emmy award-winning Chicago-based entertainment and lifestyle program, and also hosted Janet Davies Interviews, a web chat show. She will be appearing as Annie in the Dunes Art Summer Theater's production of Misery. Thank you for joining us on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome, Janet. It's really wonderful meeting you.
Well, thank you very much. I am very happy to be on Art on the Air.
Well, that's it. That's what we need to have. And glad to have you. Like I mentioned at the opening kickoff ceremony, my wife, I guess she and you and her were talking about doing arsenic and lace or something like that, if I remember.
Yes, indeed. I did that in high school.
Ah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yes.
Long
Well,
time ago.
what our people want to hear is your origin story. Maybe many people don't hear that about Janet Davies and everything. So why don't we hear it here on Art in the Air, how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us all about Janet.
Well, I can tell you I'm a bit of an extrovert, if you can't tell. I was born in Richmond, Virginia. My father was an Army captain. My mother was a nurse. And we moved around a lot. I went to 6 elementary schools in 6 years. So you either had to be an introvert or an extrovert, and I tended to be an extrovert. So I picked up the acting bug very early on my grandparents' farm porch and just started pretending I was a diva and I would sing and I would dance for the family and I just loved it. So I did a lot of high school theater. I did theater at Miami University of Ohio, and I did some theater in Toronto, Canada. And then I sat one day and I looked at myself and I went, I want a steady paycheck. And so I
Yeah.
decided that it was in and I can date myself, I don't care. It was in the 1970s, and a lot of women were in broadcast journalism at the time. And I went back home to where we were living outside Cincinnati, Ohio, and I got a job, and do not laugh, but it's true. WKRC in Cincinnati. That is the ABC station there. And I was there for a number of years. And I moved on to Columbus, Ohio. I moved to Philadelphia and worked for ABC there. And then it was Chicago. And I was there 37 years before retiring.
Wow.
So I I covered lots of things. I covered hard news. I covered uh, entertainment news. I produced. I wrote. I did live shows. I was kind of a jack of all trades, which was very, very good for me because I always liked to keep moving. And once I retired, I still couldn't leave the quote entertainment part of my life. And so I became the board president of the Acorn Center for the Performing Arts in Three Oaks. And it just so happened last year, we do this wonderful thing called the Spectacular Tournament of Playwrights. We do it once a year. We have a whole bunch of people from all over the country send us 10-minute plays, and we have judges. We pick five, we judge one, and they get quite a substantial prize. So last year, one play had a father in it. It was kind of a two-person, it was a two-person play, and it was a father and this guy who dated her daughter. Well, the guy who played the father could not make the performance. Something happened. It was sick. It was a tragedy in the family. I really don't remember right now. But one of the people at the Acorn asked if I would step in and be the mother. And I had 48 hours to learn my lines. And I tell you, it was a thrill to do that again. But that was what I thought would be the end until misery came calling.
Wow.
Ooh.
I want to take you back to some of your theater, like either high school or thing. Did you have any favorite roles? Did you do musicals or?
I did. I did musicals. Let's see, I did South Pacific,
What'd you play?
Nellie Forbush.
Oh, okay. I would
And
think.
I'm Guys and Dolls, Adelaide. I was, although Nellie Forbush is certainly not a character role, but I usually played character roles if I was in a musical or in most plays. But my favorite role, which I won a couple of awards, high school awards for, was I played Annie Sullivan in The Miracle Worker.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
loved that. That was my senior year or my junior year. Gosh, I don't remember. But I loved oh no, it was my junior year. That was wonderful. That was terrific. That's really probably when the acting bug sort of latched into me and like a leech, and I couldn't get rid of it. And that's when I decided to study theater at Miami.
Very good. Yeah, Nellie Forbush kind of is an anomaly in the theater because while she is the romantic lead, she also is kind of like the second kind of character actress too in the shows.
Mhm.
So
And she's comedic too, even
right,
though she's romantic, yeah, she's 101 pounds of fun. That's my little honey bun. That's
well,
all I remember.
yeah. Well, I could probably sing the whole thing back to you because that's my career in theater for 40 some years. And so back to broadcasting, in the 70s, it was difficult for women the way I think to crack into it. It was kind of like an emerging thing for women when they were covering something. So tell us about that journey in. Was that difficult for you? And getting into I listened to the story of the NPR founder women and how that was kind of a founding thing, and you had Cokie Roberts that came out of that and everything. So tell us about your
Mhm.
journey in.
Well, and I also want to add an addendum sort of to that, and wondering if your personality, because you can just tell you're bubbling and you're interested. Did that maybe give you an easier time doing what you were doing during that time?
That's a good question, Esther. I've always been a very positive and at the same time driven person.
Right.
It's hard for me to take no. I will take no when I finally am convinced it is no.
Right.
But usually I won't take no. I've also been described, and I think at my age it's hysterically funny, but I was always described as perky, and I didn't understand that. But maybe that's the positivity. No, when I started, I had no idea how to get into broadcasting. And I was in Canada and I was part-time doing theater, part-time doing some theatrical lighting design, which was a secondary thing I loved. And I was working Kelly Girl. Does anybody remember what
Hmm.
Kelly Girls
No.
were?
Yes.
That temporary, you were a temp. And that was just giving me money to stay in Canada because I'd gone up there for a guy. All right, that's enough of that. But that relationship ended, but I was still in Canada, and I was doing well. I was doing some theater. I was doing some commercials. It was always so funny because I would get cast, of course, as the American, because people would say, "You have a great American accent. Can you do Southern?" And I said, "I can certainly do Southern, bless your heart." Not realizing I was not Canadian, but I'll never forget this. I was out running one day back when I was young and more fit. And I just said, what am I going to do with my life? And don't I want something steady? I love acting. I love theater. I love every aspect of it, but I write. I love current affairs. I I was a news junkie. I wanted something that brought it all together. So I said to myself, I'm going to see if there are any jobs back in Cincinnati I can apply for. So I called up two stations. I called up one in Dayton, Ohio, and I called up WKRC in Cincinnati. And both asked me to send a tape. Now, I'm 23 and I didn't know what that meant. So I took the Toronto Globe and Mail. I took a reel-to-reel tape recorder and I read stories into it and I sent the tape to the two general managers. One totally ignored me, and the other sent a lovely, humbling letter about, "We got your tape. Thank you very much. We're not interested."
Oh,
I had that letter. It's lovely. And of course, I went to work for them eventually. I had that letter framed, and I've always kept it wherever I've been in my office, always, whatever station I'm in, because it just kept me really humble. Like, you idiot, you didn't even know what a tape, like a resume tape was. You thought it was reel to reel. But yes, when I did get hired finally in Cincinnati, uh, there was only one other. No, there were two women there. One was leaving. And I think I was replacing that person. So there were only two female reporters. But my anchor was Nick Clooney, whose son we all know is George Clooney. And
Right.
George Clooney and I used to play tennis together. And when he was a snotty teenager. And but I learned a lot. I learned an awful lot in my first few years there. And it was tough. I lucked into it. I really just kind of sold myself. I lucked into it, but I had to deliver the goods. So
Right.
I studied everybody and everything. I didn't just study or watch how to report or anchor. I did end up being an anchor for a while there. I went and asked everybody how they did their job. I mean, from the sales department to the engineering department to people shooting and editing. I just wanted to know what the business was all about.
And there's the
And
secret to
I
your
think,
success right there.
yeah, you've got to do that if you
Hmm.
want to be, somewhat successful. So it's kind of my journey there.
And in the small stations, you did like when you get to a larger station. There's well, probably because of unions, someone you get it's much more. You this is that job and that job, but just knowing all those how those work and piece together makes you a better person on camera and off camera.
Oh, I think it does. I think that's lacking today, definitely,
Yeah.
when I see some young people just have stars in their eyes and think that the only thing they need to do is get up there with a microphone and do a live shot or read a teleprompter. I mean, you've got to appreciate every job it's like theater. You have to appreciate every job that's done in the theater because every job that's done in the theater is done for you.
Right.
And I'm not just saying for me, it's done for the director, it's done for the sound tech, it's done for the costumer, done for the prop person. It's your job. Everything is intertwined.
Right. It's all for support.
Yeah, it's all support and expertise and knowledge.
Yeah, they're both very collaborative businesses unless you really appreciate that. And I found it interesting you said lighting design because that's where I started in theaters doing lighting design before I
No,
dropped
really.
into directing and producing. So yeah, that's and in that age, except for some people, that was not necessary. Women were not necessarily generally lighting designers, with a few exceptions.
Oh, but I'll tell you a story. I may have had a different path because I graduated early. I loaded up and I graduated early from Miami. And I had an internship, which I turned down for love to go to Toronto, kicked myself in the butt. But that's just, sliding doors. That's how it goes. Uh, some people may know this name. She is sadly passed, but I was going to have an internship with a Broadway lighting designer by the name of Theron Muser.
Oh yes.
And
Oh yeah. No, I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, Tara Newsom is fantastic. Yeah, she had wrote a book about lighting design called "The Magic of Light" and was kind of a standard
yes,
text for.
yeah.
Yes,
And so this was in the 70s, and I kicked myself, but but everything turned out even better, or as good as it could have. Who knows? I might have bombed and been back in Cincinnati working at a Skyline Chili. I don't know.
so the making the move to a major market. Tell us about some of the challenges you faced with that.
Well, I was already in a major market before I came to Chicago. I was in Philadelphia, which is number four. And that was a wonderful experience, very short. I was there 3 years and I had a live talk show. It was called AM Chicago. Chicago. Listen to me. It was AM Philadelphia. And I had a co-host who, by the way, his son is famous, David Boreanaz, Buffy the
Right.
Vampire
Right.
Slayer and all the other. So I knew Well, I'd go over to have dinner at my co-host's house, and David would come out in his little, cowboy pajamas and get ready to go to bed and say, "Aunt Janet, can I give you a hug?" And I thought later on, God, he turned out to look good. But I again, it was I think it was kind of fluky. I I auditioned and I was given the children's show host to audition with, sat on their set. and nobody was there. They were just recording it. And I felt like, all right, they've already picked somebody. They don't care. They flew me out, but I'm like, they don't care. They're not going to hire me. So we had the best time. I asked the most outrageous, crazy questions, and I got hired, which I was like, what? Are you kidding me? But let me tell you, that experience, I mean, I've had great experiences all my life, but that experience, 5 days a week, an hour live show in front of a studio audience was amazing and gave me the best stories to tell at parties, let me tell you. Live talk shows in the morning, which also led me when I went to when I finally was brought to Chicago. Oprah went off to do Color Purple. So, well, actually, let me even back up more. I was supposed to do AM Chicago, not Oprah.
Right.
And so, um, however, they wouldn't let me out of my contract in Philadelphia. So they went to Oprah, which, honest to God, they should have. She was so much better at that. So, and the rest is history. But I was sort of offered the job first, and they wouldn't let me out of my contract. Therefore, she owes me. Gosh, she
No
owes me.
kidding.
I need a couple of million, Oprah. Uh, but I that experience in Philadelphia was wonderful. So I was hired to come to Chicago, and the rest is history. I mean, I just stayed there, and I probably again did about everything you could do at a television station, live and produce and write and New Year's and parades and hard news and spot news and all of it. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Well, and what was your favorite thing doing, though? Well, what did you like doing the most?
I loved 190 North. I absolutely loved it. I was the executive producer of that. And why I really liked it um, was it showcased, I love magazine formats, but we really tried to showcase people, places, and things in Chicago and do it really stylishly well. I worked with the most incredible group of young people. A lot of them came out of Columbia College, had been our interns.
Mm.
Wonderful, wonderful young people who have gone off to do their own incredible things. I'm very proud. That was at the time. I think it might not be anymore, but it was on the air 15 years, and it was the longest running weekly magazine show in Chicago history. It surpassed oh gosh, what was the other one? Now I can't even think of it. Wild Chicago.
Right.
Oh,
Wild
yeah.
Chicago was on a long time, but it had a hiatus of like 3 or 4 years. Then it came back. We were on consistently. So I'm very proud of that. And of course, I'm proud of New Year's. I
Yes.
mean, that was so much fun. My I did it for 30 years. People don't realize, but I did that thing for 30 years with various co-hosts. But Mark Giangreco was the one everyone will remember because he is the greatest smart aleck in the world, and I just adore that man.
You
We had a
guys had
great
such
time.
a great chemistry that you could tell that you were having so much fun doing that. And
We had so much fun. People thought we were always drunk. I still get that. Oh, you were always drunk. I said, no, I wasn't. You can't do an hour live show, hour and a half, and be drunk. Or you might be Anderson Cooper and, Andy Cohen, but not Janet and Mark.
right.
Well, I think it's just your natural enthusiasm because on 190 North, it just showed you were like bubbly and engaged and really happy. So,
Well, I was, and oh, I had the best crew. I just had a lot of over the years, great people, but one during our run passed away that really was a sock in the gut. I have to tell you, and that was Doug Banks, radio icon in Chicago, and not if not nationally. Doug Banks was amazing, and when we lost him, I was devastated. I was just devastated. God, he was such an addition to our show, and we'd fly him in. He was in Dallas doing his radio show, and we'd always fly him in and like load him up with a whole bunch of stories. Oh God, I have stories about him.
Well, we only have a couple of minutes left. I wanted to touch on how you came to Misery with Dunes Arts Foundation, which is going to be coming up on opening May 30th. So, but how you got connected to do that in our last 2 minutes here.
All right. Well, number one, I know Steve Scott from The Goodman from all those years. In fact, he directed me in Christmas Carol many, many years ago. I was in a scene, a party scene or something, Fezziwig party, or I think that's what it was. No lines, but I was incredible. I'm sure memorable. And but it really was director and scenic director Michael Laswell, who saw me in the play at the Acorn, that little 10-minute play, and didn't recognize me, which I took as a high compliment. And when Misery was coming along, he just, I mean, I've met Michael. Michael's been in my house, but he was the one that recommended me. And I've known John Hancock many, many, many years because I've interviewed him. So I think it was all a perfect storm. And they wanted somebody who was dark and evil and twisted,
It's so intense.
sick and wacko. Oh, we were doing some fight scenes today. Oh, good Lord, I'm going to take 5 a leave tonight. Oh my God.
Well, is there any way if people want to reach out to you and contact you to do so?
Well, they can DM me on Facebook.
Okay.
All you need to do is put my name in and you'll see me on Facebook and give me a direct message. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
Sounds
And I
great.
hope everybody comes and see. Kevin Geis is so good as Paul Sheldon. Oh my God, he's good. And he's a Dunes favorite.
Yeah. Well, he's our interview right after
I
yours.
know. I love him. Tell him I love him.
Will do. That's Janet Davies. She'll be in Misery on May 30th through June 15th at Dunes Arts Foundation Summer Theater. You can get tickets online. Find out there. Janet, thank you so much for coming on Art in the Air and sharing your art and your whole career journey.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Esther. I really
thank you.
appreciate this.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure. Thank you.
This is Peter Marks, former theater critic of the Washington Post, and you're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, and on WVLP 103.1 FM.
We would like to welcome Kevin Lee Giese to Art on the Air. Kevin is an actor, director, and vocalist, also appearing in multiple films. He is a graduate of Players Workshop of Second City and has appeared on most of the stages of Northwest Indiana. He is past president of the Dunes Art Foundation and was director of the theater program at Portage High School for 9 years. Thank you for joining us on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome, Kevin. It's really nice meeting you.
Yeah, very nice meeting you, and thank you for having me.
Well, Kevin, we always like to start out our interviews with our guest's origin story. I always like to tee it up by saying how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us all about Kevin.
Well, it's a story that I'm humbled to tell and a little bit embarrassed by because I'm not very fond of talking about myself. But born in Gary, raised in Portage, live in Chesterton, and have been involved in performing arts all my life. As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be an actor, performer, singer. So obviously, I was a very obnoxious small child. Um, I used to embarrass my siblings quite often. And yeah, so
Well, that's a talent.
it's well, I did embarrass them quite often. So, but yeah, it goes back to when I was a small kid. That's all I've ever really wanted to do. And although I've done many, many, many different things throughout my life, my first formal appearance on stage was in first grade with our presentation in grade school. And I just kept going from there. Drama club in middle school. High school, I broke my leg, and that ended my sports career. And I just naturally landed in the drama program at Portage High School. I took all the classes that were offered at Portage High School. I participated in everything that I could possibly do there. Every play, every musical, every drama show, and it was quite a lot of fun, and it laid the foundation for everything that came after it. Um, I also was very proud of taking over that program from my mentor, Mr. Bill Bodner, the late Mr. Bill Bodner, who was my theater teacher in high school. But I got done with high school. I started exploring music. I toured with bands, climbed in the old band bus, and toured all down south and on the East Coast and all around the Midwest and all points in between. And then in the early 80s, started at Second City in Chicago, and I studied at Players Workshop of Second City, and I was graduate of their program in 1984. And then I also studied 2 years with Don DePaulo, the associate director of Second City, and that kind of laid the groundwork and foundation of the techniques that I still utilize today. Um, but that opened the door to more theater. I started getting involved in the Valpo Community Theater Guild when they were at the Memorial Opera House, and started doing shows with them, and that led to shows all over the place and in the region. I was blessed to perform on the stage at the Star Theater, um, and just did shows. That's what I love to do. All the while, I was working as a steel worker. I did 25 and a half years at Bethlehem Steel. I joined the band on the road when I'd get laid off back in the early 80s. And so it all, it led a lot of opportunities. I've done some film. I started doing some film back in the mid 80s. So I had some small roles in some films. And then about 89, 90, discovered the Dunes Summer Theater. And this is where I'm at right now, rehearsing for Misery. The Dunes was my home for 18 years.
Wow.
I have never been so attuned to a building, a place, a program as much as this. Well, this in Portage High School. Um, Again, back to Portage High School, I was lucky enough to take over after when Bill Bodner um, did his last year was my first year. And I, as a student, was there on his second year at high school. So it was really a big honor to take over for him. And I was there for 9 years. And of all the shows I've ever done and the standing ovations and collades that are on stages, nothing compares to working with our youth and young adults um, in theater, because I truly believe that theater opens far more doors for young people than just about any other discipline there is. And I'm very, very proud of my time there. I'm proud of the students that I was lucky enough to work with and who have gone on to find careers of their own in performing arts, whether it be on stage or behind or out in the house. Um, but those were the best years. But I'm happy to be back at the Dooms. Um, Teen years here, it just started growing. I started appearing on stage, and then I started helping out with working with theater management, trying to be a liaison between our technical crews and the shows that we were doing here. And that led to me serving on the board of directors and then becoming chair of theater management and then more years on the board. And then finally, I did 2 terms as president of the Dunes Arts Foundation. And I'm very proud of what we did here. We did some remarkable shows. We premiered Jekyll and Hyde here. It was the regional premiere of that show, the regional premiere of The Who's Tommy. Um, we did Jesus Christ Superstar is what most people know me from. Um, because I was lucky enough to play Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar 6 runs. So that's nearly 100 performances as Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar. Um, and then I also brought the regional premiere of the onstage live version of Rocky Horror Show, which ran here for, I believe, like 5 or 6 plus years. And these multiple runs are what sustained us monetarily for a long time and introduced a whole new plethora of people and theater. That was one of the things that I found so cool was being a steel worker and saying to my coworkers, "Hey, come out and see a show. You'll enjoy it." "No, really, I ain't gonna come see no play." "Oh, come on, really. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a money back guarantee. If you don't enjoy yourself, I'll give you your money back." And I have never been called out to give money back yet. And I'm happy and proud that I've introduced a whole new range of people to the wonderful world of live theater. So, in a nutshell, that's about it.
Do you have any favorite roles, Kevin, over the time that you've done roles, musical or otherwise?
Yes, I've loved everything I've ever done. Um, and that was one of the things I stressed to my students. Don't be disappointed if you don't get the lead, because there's some wonderful character parts, even chorus parts. You can express yourself and bring something wonderful to the table, even if you're on stage for just a moment. Um, and my first oh God, 10 years or so on stage, I played character roles. People, decades older than me, Scrooge and Fagin and Oliver and all these character parts. And it wasn't until I came to the Dunes that I kind of got stuck into the leading man thing, playing Sky and guys and dolls and Burger and Hair, and it just kind of went there. But I've always loved the character roles most of all. Um, some of my favorites have been Burger and Hair, Jekyll and Hyde. Um, I like the roles that are most far from me, from who I am. Frankenfurter and Rocky Horror. I had been talking about wanting to do the live stage version. I talked about this for decades. I had been wanting to do that since I was probably 15 years old. And people would go, "Oh yeah, you'd be a great riffraff." And I tell them, "No, I want to play Frankenfurter." And so I did. Because I didn't want to go with the logical choice. Um, by and far, my favorite role is indeed Jesus and Jesus Christ Superstar. Jesus Christ Superstar is my favorite musical slash rock opera, and I always explain it as the greatest character in the greatest story ever told, and it was very instrumental in who I am and how I like to conduct myself as a person, because I've always said, if you do Jesus and Jesus Christ Superstar, and it doesn't change your life in some positive way, you didn't get it right.
You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media 89.1 FM, on WVLP 103.1 FM, Yeah, I was wondering, over 100 performances, how did you evolve?
Um, well, hopefully got better. Um,
I mean, could you feel that happening? I mean, rather than become complacent, were you challenging yourself all the time? 100 performances is a lot of
absolutely.
performances.
Yes, yes. Well, it wasn't quite 100. I want to say it was right around 90, give or take a couple
Give or
performances.
take,
Because we
yes.
would do 3 week runs. Sometimes we would do four, or, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some of them were 4 week runs. So I kind of added them up in my head, and it's right around 90, give or take. But of course, it changed. My first audition here at the Dune Summer Theater was in 1989 or 90, and it was an audition for Jesus Christ Superstar. I didn't get cast. I was so upset, but I kept trying. I bided my time, and
Well, did you
in
get cast at
19,
all? Or were you?
I wasn't cast at all.
Oh,
The director, bless his heart, I love the guy. I worked with him before, and he said I was. He didn't want me as Jesus or Judas, but he said I really think you're. I don't want to put you in the chorus, so I got nothing, nothing, and liked it. So uh, I came back when they brought it back in I think it was 95 or 96, and I was blessed to get the role of Jesus. And it was a life-changing thing. And I also went through many changes in my own personal life, how my voice developed, and that's been ups and downs. And then I got older, so I had to change my approaches there. Um, it has been the biggest onstage blessing I've ever had is to play that role. And for years I would go out to dinner or out to a club somewhere and somebody go, "Hey," and I could think of worse names to be called. So to be remembered for that, I could think of a lot worse things. So
so were you acting in Chicago while you were doing all the classwork at Second City?
no, I never broke into it because I was working in the mill.
Mm.
And the mill was off and on. So that allowed me to, when I got laid off or I got injured, I had a couple serious accidents in my 20s that put me out of work. So I was able to go out on the road with a band, and I did some traveling on and off through the years. I played in bands on and off through the years. And then I kind of basically stuck to theater around here. I also, when I finished everything at Second City, I got a little discouraged because I went with partnered up with a buddy of mine, Mr. James Mole, Jim Mole from Portage, and we, shared rides and classes. We both he went sometimes, I went on my own. Sometimes we went together, but he was brilliant. I was okay, I was good, I think. And we would perform and do our stuff, and people would go, "Ooh, who are these two guys?" But then when it came time to get your stuff on stage, it was like, "You're from where? Indiana? Oh, you're from Indiana." And it was kind of a stigma. And I'm not the kind of guy that's going to say, "Oh, I'm from Chicago," when I'm not. But it kind of turned, it was kind of a bummer, and I just never jetted back up there. And I kind of found a home here in the stages here in Northwest Indiana, and then it just kind of worked out better with my personal life and my work life. So but I'm free now. I recently retired, so if anybody wants to hire me, I'm available. So
I was taking back performing as Jesus. Have you ever done the version in Godspell as Jesus?
yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I did that here at the Dune Summer Theater. I played Jesus. it was in the 90s. I can't remember exactly where. But yes, I did it was in the early 90s. So that was like 91 or 2,
Right.
somewhere in there, maybe through in 90. Yeah, I want to say about 92. And I played Jesus in Godspell here. Godspell was a show I did in high school, as a matter of fact. And I was the Jeffrey role. But here at the Dunes, I got to play Jesus. We had a wonderful cast. It was tremendous fun. Um, and the interesting story on that show is I was electrocuted on stage one night.
Oh, no.
Oh.
And the thing that I love so much about it is I have it on videotape,
There you
and
go.
it's quite a shocking performance.
It,
We had a technical, we had a technical foul up because we were using special effects, Jacob's ladders and Tesla coils and all, because we did the crucifixion. Crucifixion is like an electrocution,
right.
and then we utilized the this fence and everything. And yeah, I've got it on tape. You hear the stuff popping and shorting out, and you see me reacting. It's quite good.
Or you might say that in preparation for misery, so, in some ways.
Electrifying.
Yes. Well, if you know the story of misery, I also broke my leg in 3 places when I was 14 years old. That was the injury that halted my athletic career. So I have some past experience to call on for this role.
What was your sport?
Basketball and cross country. But I am so thrilled to be working with John Hancock once again. I've done a couple of his small roles in his films. I've appeared in several of his plays. We premiered his and Dorothy's original Bohemian Nights at the Acorn together, and I'm just thrilled to be with him again. Janet Davies, what a tremendous talent! What a wonderful woman, and I just. I'm thrilled to be here with John. I'm thrilled to share the stage with Janet. And I think we're going to have a wonderful show. And I pray that people come out. Let's sell this sucker out.
Okay. Is there any roles down the road that you're looking for? I know you said you kind of put the call out, says I'm available, but is there anything that you're looking for with the theaters in Northwest Indiana or beyond to do?
I'm not quite sure because I'm older now. I was younger playing old guys. Now I'm an old guy who can't play the younger guys. So I have to reevaluate. I do want to play Grandpa in Buried Child. Um, Shepherd play. I put together an audition piece for John for this show. I was already familiar with the piece, but since I put together that audition piece, I really want to play that role someday. And I want to revisit Scrooge and maybe Fagin again. Um, but the world is my oyster. I love doing film. I want to do film. Anything that I can leave behind, so to speak, that'll still be here when I'm gone. Because as much as I love theater, I love film um, as well. And I love the fact that it's there long after you're gone. And yeah, I would love to do some film. I want to do more stage, and I'd love to sing on a couple of recordings. And that's where I'm at. I'm trying to enjoy my life the best I can.
Does the theater film the performances?
Oh, no, no, there's strict rules about that. Anytime we do anything like that, it's only chunks and this and that. You're crossing a line there, so you have to have special permissions for
Mm.
that. So unfortunately, if you want to see this, you got to come over and put your butt in a seat.
That's true. Well, we're in our just about our final minute here, so tell us about the show dates, everything like that that you know of, and make sure they get people to come out to see you and Janet.
Okay, well, we open May 30th, and we run for 3 weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday matinees, through June 15th. called just look up the Dunes Arts Foundation, the Dunes Summer Theater. You'll find it online. You can order up tickets there. Tickets, I believe, are general admission, but you can reserve them ahead of time. So when you get here, it's first come, first serve. But it's an intimate theater, only about 250 seats or so. So everybody will have a good seat. Um, yeah, come watch Janet and I tear the heck out of each other eventually, and create a little tension, a little horror, and a little mayhem and misery.
Yeah, there you go. So, Misery is at Dunes Arts Foundation's Dunes Summer Theater, opening May 30th. Kevin Lee Giese is there along with Janet Davies. Thank you so much for coming on Art in the Air and sharing your whole story.
My pleasure, Larry. It's been an absolute joy talking with you. Thank you so very much for everything, Esther. Pleasure. Love the glasses, and thank you again. Hope to see you at the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We'd like to thank our guests this week on Art on the Air, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art on the Air is heard Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicmedia.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Media's website as a podcast. Art on the Air is also heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at wvlp.org. If you have a smart speaker like Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, or Apple Siri, just tell it to play Art on the Air to hear the latest episode. Our Spotlight interviews are heard every Wednesday on Lakeshore Public Media. Thanks to Tom Maloney, Vice President of Radio Operation for Lakeshore Public Media, and Greg Kovach, WVLP's Station Manager. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project grant, South Shore Arts, and the National Endowment for the Arts. We'd like to thank our current underwriters for Lakeshore Public Media, Macaulay Real Estate in Valparaiso, Olga Patrician, Senior Broker. And for WVLP, Walt Reidinger of Paragon Investments. So we may continue to bring you Art in the Air. We rely on you, our listeners and underwriters, for ongoing financial support. If you're looking to support Art on the Air, we have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA, where you can find out how to become a supporter or underwriter of our program in whatever amount you are able. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. You'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. If you're interested in being a guest or send us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the Air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the Air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the